Hey guys, it's Robert here. Uh, at the moment, I'm in Batumi. I plan to go to for a Euro trip. I plan to go to Turkey, then to Bulgaria, Greece, Albania, Croatia, and a few others maybe countries. But I was stopped on the border with Turkey. They didn't let me through. So I decided because border is very close to Batumi. I decided to stay in Batumi. I need to get some documents for residence permit, and it will take a month. So I thought, okay, I am stuck here for a month, and I want to use this time the best I can. So I found some people, some interesting people to talk with and to record podcasts for you. Today I'm talking with Larry Strawson. He is originally from Canada. He is living in Georgia in Batumi, as if I remember correctly, for 8 years. He just bought one-way ticket to Georgia to Batumi, and he stayed here. That's crazy story, but amazing. And he's a real estate expert, and he was before a construction expert. So we are talking about Georgian market, like real estate market. We are talking about living in Georgia, about his experiences, and I hope it will be interesting for you. I will ask you to subscribe to this channel, and I'm planning to record a story of how it happened that I went from Tbilisi and got stuck here, and what was my plan. And if you want to hear that, please comment and enjoy today's episode. You were saying something about networking, right? About
The creating the podcasts and the
yeah.
videos and the power of developing relationships. Because I mean, we've come to a world, social media is so prevalent, but we're becoming so disconnected,
Yeah.
because we don't sit face to face and have coffee and, meet people.
Yeah,
So,
so I thought about this, and it's pretty. It's you don't sit like this, like two for hour or two with someone. If you are maybe if you have like very good friend, then you are sitting drinking wine or something.
hmm
But like you don't meet people like this. Maybe you do because you are developer you are selling
real
real estate,
estate,
right?
yeah.
So you have more meetings, right?
Yeah, and I'm more old school. I mean, I grew up in a time when there was no internet, social media, so I have skills already, and maybe in your generation you never learned those skills.
No,
So yeah.
no, it's even with my friends in Poland. I don't have younger friends here.
hmm
Um, in Poland, like we have to do something else. We have to go play sports or drink.
hmm
Thank you very
Pubbing.
much. Uh, or drink or something because like it's it's not normal, I think, to just sit and talk.
hmm
So can you tell me about what you are doing, about your job?
Yeah, I moved to Batumi 8 years ago. A friend was living here, invited me to come here. He said we can make money buying and selling real estate in Batumi. So I came for 6 weeks to try it out, see if I liked it, and I haven't gone back since I came to
Wow,
6 weeks. Yeah,
wow. And what have you done before? You are from Canada, right?
correct. Yeah, in Canada, I grew up on a big farm. Um, got into construction, building construction, renovations, and then I eventually worked my way into. I took a course to become a home inspector in commercial inspections. And then I came here. I learned how to be salesman. So it's
Hmm.
big switch.
And your friend was living here before, but he's from Canada, or
He's from the U.S. originally, and but he was in Ukraine and was there during as a software engineer, and then the Crimea invasion.
in
He,
Ukraine?
yeah, he was living in Ukraine. Yeah, and the Crimea invasion, he was forced, not forced, but he had a Ukrainian girlfriend, and this was the only place at that time that would accept Ukrainians. So
Yeah. So your friend is adventurous
yes.
to go from US to Ukraine. It's like I heard it's very cheap and people are nice and so on, but
Hmm. And the cost of living, but it's also a good source of talent, IT talent.
mhm.
So he had a software agency or an IT agency. I'm sorry, developing software, and so it was a good
Mhm.
source of.
In Poland was like this when I was a kid. When it
Mhm,
was all starting, Poland was the best place to get engineers and developers.
mhm,
But right now, I think prices went up, like standards of living went up,
mhm.
and Polish people are not that cheap anymore.
Yeah,
I think Serbia right now, Ukraine still, but war. So, um, and so you came here for 6 weeks, and you never came back. Like,
yeah. I know everybody asks, "Have you been back to Canada?" And the other question I get a lot too is, "Why Georgia?" Like, you're from Canada. Why would you want to live in Georgia? And to me, Georgia is like a miniature Canada.
really?
Mountains, the forests, the rivers, friendly people. And the best part is there's no winter here. In Canada, where I'm from, we have bad winter, and here they have three seasons: spring, summer, fall.
You where are you from? Like exactly? Are you?
Edmonton,
Hmm?
Edmonton,
So
Alberta.
it's north, south.
It's further north than Oslo, Sweden. If you know where Oslo, Sweden is,
Hmm. Yeah,
it's
yeah.
further north
Okay,
longitude than
okay.
Oslo. So,
I thought
or
for a
Oslo,
moment
Norway.
about
Sorry.
going to Canada because you can get like as a Polish citizen you can get working visa for a year,
Hmm.
but like I hate winters.
I don't blame you.
And I think the only place where you can get good weather in Canada it's south, right? But
Re-
it's still a winter
it's
there.
still winter. The real only, and it's actually very similar to Batumi climate is Vancouver.
Hmm.
So if you go to Vancouver, it's very similar. It's rainy and cloudy in the winter and beautiful in the summer. So,
Hmm.
so
And have you been in like do you have comparison between Tbilisi and Batumi? Have you lived in these?
yeah, I haven't spent a lot of time in Tbilisi, but Tbilisi is definitely like Batumi is semi-tropical. So and Tbilisi is semi-arid. It's almost a desert. So it's a lot drier and hotter there during the summer,
Yes.
and it's more subtropical here. So I
Yeah.
prefer Batumi. It's more fresh, more green. You know.
Hmm. Yeah, definitely. That's what I see. But I'm curious about winter here because winter in Tbilisi was better than in Poland,
Hmm.
but still,
The winter is better here than in Tbilisi.
I think
Yeah,
so. Okay.
it's not as cold, less snow.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah. So
It's
another,
more moderate because of the sea. The sea moderates the temperature
but
or the
it's
seasons, I
but it's
guess.
a lot of rain, right?
It's wetter than Tbilisi, yes.
Hmm.
It's similar to London. I mean, some people are familiar with London winters, foggy and rainy.
Hmm.
And Vancouver in Canada is almost the same. So.
Yeah. I'm like here like 2 weeks. I no like 1.5 week right now,
Hmm.
and I already like it more than Tbilisi. So we'll
Hmm.
see. My plan was to go just leave Georgia for now to go to Poland,
It
but
depends on your lifestyle. I mean, people from rural upbringing, I think like Batumi better because it's smaller, more laid back, nature oriented. Whereas Tbilisi is big city life. People that are born and raised in a city or like cities. You get all the conveniences in Tbilisi. So
mhm. I was living for a very long time in you can go. I was living for a very long time in big city, and I think I like more like smaller ones.
I do too.
Do you live in city center or somewhere outside?
Yeah, near May 6 Park, so yeah, city center.
Mhm. Nice. So let's talk about your work
Hmm.
because I'm interested in real estate here.
Hmm.
And if you came here to sell real estate, then you will be the best person to talk about this.
Yeah, I give you a good perspective for sure. I mean, I don't have all the answers, but I have a good perspective. Like you say, that's all I've done the 8 years I've been here is sell investment real estate to foreigners.
Hmm.
I don't have any local Georgian clients or Russian clients, mostly because the properties we were selling were, uh, I don't know how to explain it, but I mean, Georgians and Russians don't understand the concept of quality and passive income. So yeah, all my clients are either European, American, or Middle East.
Yeah. So about quality, yeah,
It's a big issue here for sure. Yeah.
yeah. Uh, I rented like every apartment I rented, there was some problems,
Hmm.
and I thought before about buying real estate here,
Hmm.
something like even a flat, because my plan is to live half a year here because of taxes, you know,
Hmm.
but and the other half in Poland or somewhere else.
Hmm.
Um, so, do you think you can get really good real estate, like quality, with no power outages?
Well, I can't control the electricity supply, but hopefully they work on that. Electrical supply. I mean, they're planning new developments. Every week it seems like new developments coming out, and no announcements about upgrading the power supply. So it is a concern, but they recognize the value of growing. So I think they will address it. Same with the airport. The airport's a bottleneck here. So, but in Batumi things progress slowly.
Mhm.
So don't hold your breath. But I think it will happen. As far as good quality real estate, there are some good developers here. The problem, one of the issues, not a problem, one of the issues is there's no code in Batumi, like in
No what?
code,
Cool.
building code.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
for example, in Poland, you have to build a building to a certain code or standard, and they don't have that here. I mean, developer has, and that's part of the value or the attraction of Batumi is freedom. But it's a double-edged sword. I mean, the developer has the freedom to build however he wants, but the consumer, you have to consumer beware. That's
Yes,
what it is.
I've seen buildings like huge buildings, which are like you can see that uh, two buildings was built. It was good location there,
Hmm.
and now in the middle between them they put another building,
Hmm.
and it's like for example, whole day it's there is no sun there. So
Yeah,
that's definitely a problem. But I think you can get around this if you take a good
yeah,
location. Yeah.
yeah. I know for sure. I mean, that's always a concern when you're buying real estate here. Is some people buy a location for the view, so you have to be aware that there's no lots, empty lots, and there be another building built that will block your view or the sun. For me, for example, a lot of people want to have the sea view, but I mean, I lived in the mountains for in Canada for a big part of my life, and the view becomes hard. It's bad to say, but I mean, you become accustomed to it.
Yes.
Where it's more important to have the health factors like the sun. So I like to have morning sun, east morning sun or evening or afternoon sun,
Mhm.
rather than the sea view because over time the sea view will go away. So
Yeah. Right now I have apartment with sun throughout the day, like since morning, and it's
hmm
perfect. I
yeah,
just go out on the balcony and I'm getting my sun.
yeah. It's
Uh,
so important. Vitamin D in your
yes.
coffee first thing in the morning.
Yes. Um, what are good developers here? What would you say?
Yeah. Um, that's it's not easily answered, that question,
Mhm.
because depending on what you're looking for,
Mhm.
you know,
Maybe maybe other way.
I want to answer this correctly because I
Yeah.
mean you don't want to bash anybody. Like everybody is doing their best,
Mhm.
but some are doing it better than others. So, uh, and part of it is education. I think they don't realize what quality really is. They've been to Europe maybe, or they've been to Canada, and they might have seen the nice cosmetics, but they don't understand. It's not just about cosmetic. It's foundation and building around a solid foundation, right? So,
Mhm. Yeah.
and then carrying it out beyond that, like, you know, their consumer, their experience with that product after they bought it, and they don't
Mhm.
think past just selling it to you and making their
Yeah.
money, right?
Yeah.
So when you ask me who would be a good developer, it's more than just building a good building. It's the follow up, making sure that you have a good experience after you bought the flat.
Mhm.
And there's
But
very few companies doing that. It's a short list.
and what is like the cost of per square meter? Like around what's the cost for getting like something quality?
Yeah, again, it varies. I mean, if you want to buy quality on the front row, or along the sea, or if you want quality,
Give me a range,
yeah,
like
yeah.
from this to that.
Currently, it's probably 1,800 to 2,000 a meter.
Oh, it's a lot better than Poland.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Like Batumi has gone up 3, 4 times since the Russian invasion, but it's still cheaper than most parts of the world. Comparatively, like if you want to compare it to sea resorts, like in Italy or Bangkok, or the major tourist attractions, London.
So in Poland, for example, in Warsaw, it's at least twice as much
Hmm.
for square meter, and Poland isn't even considered like expensive. So
Hmm.
prices
Yeah,
here
it's
are
Eastern
very good,
Europe. Really. Yeah.
and uh, the smallest amount you can buy real estate here, like not even talking about quality, because I was reading that you can buy for like $30,000, like some small apartment.
Yeah, that's pretty extreme. I mean, I would more realistic start at 40, mid 40s,
Hmm.
42, 45, to
Still,
get anything, decent size, location, and quality.
still very very cheap.
Yeah.
And what do you think about because everybody hopes like war in Ukraine will end.
We're all praying for that,
Yeah,
yes.
and Russians probably will leave to, to get back to Russia.
Hmm.
And I heard some people saying that prices will drop. Do you think it will? It's real. It will be.
It's an interesting question. I mean, if people are asking me lots of time, where is a good place in the world to invest? And I always say, buy where the prices are low and the price will go up. And I think Ukraine will be a good investment, even starting now, because the war will eventually end.
Mhm.
Whether Ukraine wins or Russia wins, we don't know. But either way, I think property values will be low and they will go up,
No,
regardless
but
of
I
who
mean,
wins.
here because like
Oh, how will the war end affect prices here?
yeah, because it's
That's a really good
a
question
lot
too.
of Russians like
Yeah,
it's
but I think because they moved here for a reason, and most of it is uh, political reasons, I think. So even if the war ends, I don't think their view of Russia will change that dramatically, and they will. Not a lot of them are going to move back. I don't.
Mhm.
I think. So I don't know. Yeah, if you think the prices will drop if the war ends, I don't think so.
Okay.
Maybe a little bit, but not as dramatic. And the other part of that answer to that question is um, the prices aren't that inflated. It'd be one thing if so many Russians came here that the price was 5 times or 10 times, but it's only 2, 3, maybe 4 times. So a correction, and it's already corrected a little bit.
Mhm.
And at the end of the war, I don't think there would be most of the corrections already been priced in, I think.
Okay, but you've seen this change because I was listening to a lot of like YouTube videos about Georgia and prices here, and everybody was saying that like during this like last maybe 3 years that prices of everything went
Hmm.
up a lot.
Yeah, I just had this discussion with somebody the other day. It would have happened regardless of the invasion. It happened because of COVID.
Yeah.
All the money printing happened during COVID, and we're just starting to see the effects of that. The Russian invasion just accelerated the inflation here. That's all. I mean, but it would have come regardless,
Hmm.
either way. And it's not unique to Georgia or Poland.
Yes.
The whole world is experiencing the price increases that you're talking about right now. So.
Okay, so that's interesting point of view because I thought it might be like because of the Russians came here,
Mhm.
but the difference is because I was thinking about like rent prices and so on,
Mhm.
and I think rent prices might get lower because people who are renting they are not looking like long term.
Mhm.
But real estate, I don't think it will come down as you are saying.
Mhm.
Uh,
Because what two things are going to happen: the people that are renting that thought it was just going to be short term, the war was going to be, or the invasion was going to be a year and a half, 2 years, then they would move back. But it turns out it's not temporary, and it's possible it could go on for a couple more years or longer. God forbid. So those people will convert into buyers, real estate buyers, and they'll do one of two things: they'll keep the property, or they'll buy the property that they were renting, or buy another property and rent it out. So I mean, yeah, it's not going to affect the prices as much as you think, because
you might be
that's my opinion. I
you
mean,
might be right. Yes.
everybody hopes that the prices will correct and come down, but I don't think it will.
Hmm.
Not that much, maybe 5-10%, but not more than that.
I think I already seen some drop in like rent prices and so on, as
Hmm.
you are saying. But yeah, it's interesting.
And part of that has come from when the Russians and the Ukrainians. It's not just Russians that moved here; it's Kazakhs, Russians, Ukrainian, Poles even, and moved here, and they were part of the inflation, the increase in rents. But a lot of those people had online income or some source of income from Russia, and Russia is the one that got hurt the most because of the increasing sanctions. Those people, when they moved here, they had a large disposable income, but that disposable income has shrunk since they moved here, especially in 3 years. So that's part of the reason the rents have gone down. They can't, at first when they're coming here, they're thinking, well, it's so cheap, right? But now, their income has gone down.
Yeah,
It's not so cheap for them anymore. So.
yeah. Let's talk about how you're planning because you told me that you probably will move out of Georgia.
Um, I recently got my UAE residency. So my plan is to, and then write my real estate broker's license for UAE, which is different than here. Like in Georgia, you don't need any license to sell real estate. Anybody can sell real estate here, which is a double-edged sword in itself. It creates, all sorts of issues, and makes it easier for a lot of people to make easy money. Not easy money, but a different source of income.
Hmm.
But UAE is much more controlled. It's like Europe or what I'm used to in America. There's regulations on, especially on real estate. So yeah, my plan, to start is to cross promote, sell both because I'm familiar with um, Georgia, and the experience and the natural experience, and that's what a lot of people come here for. Two reasons: it's easy for a lot of foreigners to buy real estate here. Basically, if you can come here, you can buy real estate here. I mean, it's that easy. And the other reason is, Europeans coming here for the natural experience, because lots of Europe is overcrowded. If you want to go skiing, there's huge lineups. If you want to go rafting on the river, there's huge lineup where it's not that crowded here still. So they come here for that. And then Dubai is a whole totally different experience. It's about nightlife and nightlife.
Yeah,
Having people living a high life, I guess.
luxury, luxury.
Luxury,
Yes.
yeah. Shopping, nightlife. So it's two different customers, but they're both popular. When my 8 years here, most of my clients, were either interested in Batumi or Dubai. So
Yeah.
that's my plan going forward is cross promote both. You know, I probably keep a residence in both places. Stay 3 to 6 months, switch back and forth. According to the seasons. Kind of like
Yeah.
your plan.
Yeah, I heard like the when here is the coldest, it's the perfect time
Yeah,
in Dubai or in the UAE.
exactly. Yeah.
Like it's around 20, 25
Hmm.
degrees. Um,
And less people. It's our off season, so there's less people.
yeah.
So yeah,
But have you been there? Like, have you?
yeah. A couple times I've been to Doha once, and then to Dubai a couple times now. Yeah.
Mhm. I want to go there. I like when I talk with expats, everybody is saying like I want to be here or in Dubai or in UAE. So
Hmm.
there is something definitely there. And do you have like how you get clients, for example?
Well, I mean, currently it's all online marketing. I mean, you generate leads through content, whether it's written or video.
So you're doing content, right?
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah. I'm not good at it, but I'm getting better. Like initially I just written content, but I realize the value of video content. It converts better.
Yeah.
It's easier to develop relationships, like we just talked. We were talking about earlier, and
What's the name of your channel?
it's
You
just
talk
my name, Larry Strawson.
Larry Strawson.
Yeah, it's easy to remember.
If you want to see content about real estate in Georgia or Dubai or UAE, then go to Larry Strawson.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, and what people can expect there? Like what are you talking about? What are you?
Well, like I said, my experience in UAE is limited, so my content on the UAE is from a tourist perspective. The beaches and the restaurants, and by law, you're not actually allowed to promote UAE real estate until you are a licensed broker. So, yeah, the UAE content is strictly tourism related, but my Batumi content is more about my experience selling real estate here, what to look for,
Mm,
what to avoid. That's probably more important than it's easy to buy property in Batumi, super easy. I mean, there's property everywhere, developers. The challenge is knowing what not to buy or what to avoid, the situations to avoid. Like there's real estate fraud is real still in Georgia. I mean, it's sad to say, but it happens. So always have good legal advice.
there
You
was this story about
know.
some like big building in the Batumi,
Hmm.
which was supposed to be like a hotel, but they build it and then they try to convert it into uh, hotel. Like
Yeah, it was
I
the other
don't
way.
remember
It
which.
was originally built as a university,
Aha.
and then they tried converting it to apartments and hotels.
And
Yeah,
what's going on with this?
it's it's been a nightmare because I mean you can imagine the floor layout for a university, and then try and convert that efficiently to apartments is nearly impossible. Because of
Mm-hmm.
pillars and the plumbing. You can't change the plumbing once it's been laid in the concrete. Well, you can, but it's huge costs, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
so
And
what they've come up with is inefficient design, and yeah, it's not a good situation. So I think now it's going back more to office space. They're going to try and convert it.
so it's not still not solved.
Well, it partially sold, but it wasn't selling well, so they're changing the plan again. I think, as far as I know, but I don't follow it that closely. So.
That's crazy. But like when people hear this story, they are a little afraid to buy.
Yeah, exactly. And those are the kind of things you don't see, as a consumer. You come here, you see the nice banner, and they show you around, and maybe a good price. But yeah, you don't know, you don't see that it was originally, and the layout's not that good. And yeah, the location's amazing. It's in a beautiful part of the city, close to the beach, but and the old Batumi. But
Hmm.
and even like construction wise, you don't see that as a consumer. By the time you get here, you see the finished room. You don't see the type of rebar that you put in the concrete or the quality of the concrete or if they even poured it during the right temperatures. There's so many factors. And that's where my background in construction helps me differentiate the good projects from the not
Yeah,
so good ones.
that seems perfect. Like sometimes because you didn't plan to go into sales,
No, not
right?
at all. No.
So sometimes like life is choosing for us.
Exactly. Yeah.
So if you could like say a few things like what you should do and don'ts for like buying real estate in Batumi.
There's a couple 101 buying real estate in foreign country that everybody should know, regardless of the country. And the first one is never buy right away. Come here, rent 6 months, a year, see if you like it first enough to then graduate to buying a property, right? Unless you're just looking for passive income, then come here, do your research and buy something for passive income. But for buying a place to vacation or live, definitely rent for minimum 3 months, to
Mm-hmm.
find out if you like it.
Mm-hmm.
What else to avoid? Always get legal advice, good legal advice, and that's another issue in Georgia. Is not all lawyers are created equal, but that's the same everywhere. It's not unique to Georgia, but so do
Yeah,
your do
but
your research.
it's like quality of service, low quality of service
Hmm.
here is like famous, so
Yeah,
you should be careful.
yeah, for sure. But consumer beware, because in Europe and Canada, we're used to consumer protection laws, and
Hmm.
that doesn't exist here. There are no consumer protection laws here. So
Yeah. So what if you do something? Can you go to the court? Is it like any legal way or no?
there's options, but
I thought so.
it's so challenging and cost prohibitive, and it's not always efficient. I mean, I can tell you some real horror stories regarding the courts relationship with. You get a court order saying this, don't recognize it, like that happens here. So
That's scary.
yeah, for sure. So you want to make sure, you're in the right situation, that you don't end up in the courts, because protection is not that good.
Hmm.
Mm.
Okay, so what parts of Batumi would you recommend to look for? Is it like any? Well, I was looking which parts are like the best for residential for living, and I seen like Boulevard and like two other names that I can't
Hmm.
pronounce.
It all comes down to personal preference. Do you want to be right on the sea with a sea view? Is it not that important, and you want a lower, quieter lifestyle? Because I mean, here in the season, it's 24/7 music on the beach, party, party, party. So,
Yeah.
don't expect any good sleeps if you're close to the first or second row. So I
Mhm.
mean, all these things are important. I mean, some people they thrive in that environment. They want to be close to the
Yeah.
action, right? Whereas if you're, the more quiet, natural experience, you get further away from the beach, but you can still have good sea views and not live on the beach. So it's a very personal question. What's the best place to invest? Me personally, like for example, in Orby, let's take Orby City. It's a prime. Everybody knows about Orby City, and you can buy an apartment right on the very front that's facing the sea,
Mhm.
and you pay a 30% premium for that room compared to a room in the same building
Yeah.
but faces the mountains.
Hmm.
Yet, but when you rent them, they get the same price, nightly rate.
Hmm.
So if you're looking at purely from an income perspective, buy the less popular or rooms, and you will make a better ROI. If it's for your own personal use, and want the sea view, or you prefer the morning sun or the mountain view, then pick your property according to that. But
Yeah, that's very important information.
Hmm.
It makes sense, but I wouldn't say it would be like 30% difference. That's huge.
Oh yeah, for sure it could be 30. Even like from the lower floors, like Orby City is 44 floors. The lower floors sell less, like probably 10% less, 10 to 15% less than the higher floors.
Hmm.
You know, and then the higher floors, it would be 30%. Like when you start getting into penthouse level.
And I've seen ads like buy yourself a hotel room.
Hmm.
What is it about? Like it's in the hotel and you can just buy apartment in the hotel.
One of the issues, and I talked about, part of getting back to that question, why Georgia as opposed to Canada? And most people that you ask, they'll say freedom. You have true freedom here. I mean, you have freedom to do what you want when you want. So when you ask that question, oh God, I forgot the question now.
About this ad that you can
Oh yeah, so
hotel room. You
part
can
of
buy hotel
the
room.
freedom that you have here is you can advertise anything without any repercussions. So there's a lot of false advertising here.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll advertise it as a hotel room and you have shared income and guaranteed income. But once you buy the room, yeah.
I thought so.
And because of the judicial system that we talked about earlier, you can't even take it to court because they're not going to enforce.
But is it like a hotel? Like
there is legitimate hotel investments where you buy part or a whole hotel room and you share in the income. For example, Wyndham and Gueño, they're one of the legitimate projects that do that. Where you buy a hotel room and you share in the income, actually not just in your room, but the whole hotel. And then you can actually share your time, your allotted time with other parts of the Wyndham network around the world. But so that's one example. But you'll see it happen here a little bit. The local developers will see a good model, expat model or foreign model that works, and they'll try and copy it.
Mm-hmm.
But that's all they're doing. They're trying to copy it. The fulfillment part of it is lacking sorely, sadly.
Okay. And if you like, I thought about buying apartment here
Mm-hmm.
and just renting it for the half of the year.
Pardon?
Is it renting it for half the year
Mm-hmm.
and the other half living here?
Yeah.
Is it like even viable? Is it?
Well, for sure. I mean, that's a lot of people that are exactly like you. I mean, they 3 months, 6 months, 2 months. They want to live here, and then the rest of the time have it managed by a property management company here, right? So yeah, I mean that's definitely the biggest issue here. And again, it comes back to finding a qualified and professional property management company.
Mm-hmm.
There's lots of people that will say they'll manage your property for you, but yeah, qualified or good, compared to what I'm expecting, from Canada or
But
Europe.
Do you know the companies like this?
Yeah,
Like,
there are some good ones here, for sure. But again, that comes. Every company here will promise,
yes.
good international property management company, but the reality is it's just a Georgian company registered in Dubai.
Yeah, I
So
learned.
again, buyer beware.
Yeah, seeing a quality of. I don't want to be so negative about this, but it's like real.
Yeah,
In
I don't either, but I
comparison
mean
to
it's
Poland, it's
yeah,
terrible, absolutely terrible.
yeah, and part of that is like you say. I mean, Georgia is still it's an old country uh, historically. I mean, they have history going back, as old as northern Africa, 5,000 years. But as far as like an active independent country, it's only like 20 years old. I mean, essentially when the former Soviet Union split up, this was formerly a Soviet republic. Then they've been trying to develop their laws and their with some not so good company, neighbors. You have Russia on one side and Turkey on the other. So they've done well, but I mean they have work to do for sure.
Yeah, and Georgia is a very small country. It's like 3.5 million people, so
Yeah.
it's hard to being so small to do something. But they're trying their best, and
Hmm.
like a lot of expats come here, so it has
Yeah.
to be good.
Yeah. I mean, it's a double-edged sword. I mean, you got to lower your expectations. Like say, it's, especially if you come from Europe or America or Australia, you know, you need to lower your expectations for sure. But I mean, that's part of the uniqueness of this place. For starters, it's, I mentioned freedom. You get true freedom here,
Yes.
and then
Like,
diversity, I guess. And then like at its core, Georgians are friendly people. And I found as a whole, they're generally very friendly. So I mean, there's reasons to live here or invest here. It's just like I said, consumer beware. There are good investments, and
yeah, Georgians are like very the, at the first glance, when you see like Georgian people, they are very like timid. They don't engage.
yeah.
But if you ask them for something, like they will always help you. They're
Hmm.
always open to do something. So
Hmm.
uh, that's even like I'm comparing a lot to Poland.
Hmm.
Even like in comparison to Poland, like I had some situations, some stories that I was shocked.
Hmm.
Like random people on the street were helping me with something because my tire broke, and like
Hmm.
that was amazing.
Yeah, I believe 95% of the people in this world are good. They have good intentions. It's that 5-10% that make it bad for everybody. Or give a bad impression sometimes. And the biggest part of that is communication. I mean, you can imagine yourself. I mean, you speak Polish and English. It sounds like it, so you're comfortable. But I mean, a lot of Georgians don't. So I mean, it's harder to communicate how you feel.
Yes.
If you can't communicate that with language, right? So
And do you speak Russian maybe or no?
I live survival, Russian survival,
Yeah.
Kartuli.
Yeah, I thought if I would stay here, I need to learn
Yeah,
Russian because
and you're better off learning Russian because even the Georgians know Russian.
yes,
Whereas if you learn
everybody.
Georgian, there's only 3.5 million people that speak it. Whereas Russian, I mean, if you go outside of Georgia, I mean, there's a big Russian population
Mhm.
outside of Russia. So
Yeah, let's talk about Canada because I hear a lot of stories about Canada, what's going on there, and
hmm
like, do you keep like, do you know what's going on there? Like, do you have some family and
yeah, I mean, my family all lives there. Most of my family lives there. So, but I'm not a real political person. You know, of course, I see the major things happening there, and what Trudeau was doing, with the convoy, which was, a huge atrocity. I mean, it's basically a police state, like something that most Canadians would have never imagined would happen. It did happen. And the part that appalls me the most is not that it happened, but the pushback from Canadians. Like there was nearly no pushback. Like there was no protest, against it.
uh,
I found.
but is it like Canadians are very polite people, right?
That's part of it. That's part of the
Yeah.
reason why there was
So yeah.
no pushback.
Mm. And do you visit Canada or
No, I haven't been back since I came
really? Like,
here.
no,
Eight
even
years. I mean, you
wow.
have Facebook and you have face to face time. FaceTime. I mean it's a long trip. It's 24 hours flying. $2,500, $3,000 one way. So it's not convenient. And I don't have any business there. I mean, I kind of planned when I moved here, not going back, but so I arranged. So there's no reason to go. There's no business for me there. So
Would you recommend like going there? Like, is it a good
where?
place to be to Canada?
Oh, for sure. I mean, Canada has its advantages for sure, but like part of my experience coming here, like, so it's not unique to Canada either. I mean, but media portrays different parts of the world, especially like Russia and Middle East is, bad places of the world, and you shouldn't go there, right? That's
Mhm.
how the media portrays it. But moving here, I have an exact opposite view now. Like I know lots of good Russian people now. Some of my best friends are from the Middle East. So what I'm learning is, people are good all over the world. And, in traveling, I've traveled a fair amount, not as much as I would like, but people generally are good. I mean, people, they want one thing. They want a home, safe place for their family, and some peace. But it's the
and some freedom.
governments that are causing these problems around the world, not the people. Russian people don't have an ideology that take over the world.
When there was there a protest like when with these elections, they were protesting here in Batumi?
Yeah, there was protests about the election because the leader was replaced by a pro-Russian leader.
Yeah, yeah. And in Tbilisi, there was like huge protests,
Hmm.
absolutely
Even here,
huge.
they're not
And
as big as
people,
Tbilisi, but it's a smaller
and
place.
all over the media, there was like people were saying like it's like people are fighting on the streets, like it's crazy.
Hmm.
And people from Poland started to write to me like, "Are you safe? Is it
Yeah,
everything
okay.
okay?" And I went to the protest to see
Yeah.
really how it is, and it was so peaceful. Like,
Hmm. Yeah.
so media is
Yeah, the media try and find a few extreme examples, and that's what sells news. I mean, it's not unique to Georgia. I mean, it's all over the world. It's like that, like the media. You got to take the media with a grain of salt, and that's part of the reason. I made a choice probably about 20 years ago now. I don't watch the news anymore because that's what they
very good
portray is the
choice.
bad side of every story rather than the good, right? So it's
So you are pretty unique with that, because like I think like the most normal people I'm meeting, they don't go with the flow of like everything. They like
hmm.
just watching and talking about this politics, and like people are living by this politics, and I don't think it's healthy for you.
Healthy for me.
Like for people, like it's not healthy for people to watch the news and
Oh,
live
absorb all this
with
negative
politics.
energy and
Yeah,
news. Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
I totally agree. Like, but I mean, sadly, I don't know if it's a majority. I mean, I like to think that people know the difference. But were you born in a farm or a city?
I was in a small city, born in a small city, but it's not
Yeah.
farmers. Yeah,
See, I don't know if you realize it or not, but like the majority of the population was rural up to about 2 years ago. But because of the transfer of people to cities, that where rural people are now a minority. And I firmly believe, to get the best out of life, you need some sort of connection to nature. And that's what city living has disconnected so many people from nature that, they don't know the difference or realize the difference between good and bad anymore or what and I have faith in humanity and I like to believe that we still have a
yeah, you're a
connection.
positive person. I can see that.
Yeah, but I mean I don't know if that shift is happening or not. I mean, like I said, I like to focus on the positive mostly, so I have my own bias on that view.
I'm totally agreeing with you, and I
Mhm.
think to the point, people were like sheep, like going with the flock,
Mhm.
and I think now people are starting. I see that in social media that people start to realize that it's like with this all of this movement. I don't want to get too political, but like all of this movement, like feminists and like COVID and this all of these crazy things. Like there was a time that people were going and trans movements, like people were going into that,
Mhm.
and now I think that something is changing. Like even like people, there are new influencers who are getting extremely popular, who are saying like you should go and live with nature, and
Yeah,
that's like mental illness, like it's the sky high. Everybody has
stress,
some.
mental illness. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
No, I agree totally. And then nature is one of the best ways. It goes in order. I think exercise, a pet, and nature. Those three things are how to reduce stress. And when you live in a city,
Do you have pets?
No, I don't. But I mean, it's that's when you live in the city, you only have one option, or some of the cities have nice parks and they are close. Like in Batumi, for example, it has some really nice green areas, parks, and the nature is close. I mean, 30-minute drive. You can be in the nature here, so
Yeah.
that's one of its advantages for sure.
In Tbilisi also, I had that you are in the city, in the middle of the city, 20 minutes, and you are in the nature, in the mountains. That's perfect.
A beautiful thing, yes.
Yeah. Thank you, Larry, very much for this
My
talk.
pleasure. It was,
I think the listeners will like it.
Mhm.
It was pretty interesting for me. I hope for you too.
Mhm.
And I hope we will talk some other time.
Absolutely.
You will tell me
I look
more.
forward to it. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
That's it.
Over and out.